Canada's grocery rebate officially takes effect today. Joining us with those details is money expert Rubina Ahmed-Haq. All right, Rubina, what do we need to know about this one-time grocery rebate? Who is eligible? And let's talk how much the rebate actually is for folks.
So what we need to know about this grocery rebate, it is for low-income Canadians. 11 million Canadians will be receiving this grocery rebate credit that they're calling it today, July 5th. And it really is just a doubling of the HST GST credit that Canadians already get. Now, in order to qualify for this, you have to have a household income of less than $38,000 or an individual income of less than $32,000. So you have to be in a very specific income bracket in order to receive this credit. They give an example. For an example, a single mom making $30,000 a year who has one child would today get an extra $386. And that's on top of the $1,100 plus that she'd get all year as the GST HST credit. So that just gives you an example of how much people might be getting. More children you have, the bigger the credit. But it is a one-time credit. It's not like it's going to continue throughout the year. It's just to help those individuals with some of their household costs, including groceries.
Okay, good to know that criteria. Now, the grocery rebate is part of the Cost of Living Act. Is there anything else Canadians should know or be aware of for making life more affordable?
Yeah, so the Cost of Living Act is hoping to make life more affordable for Canadians. What they're also doing is transferring up to $2 billion in what they're calling healthcare transfers to the provinces. Now, this is really to deal with wait times and other issues that have been happening in the healthcare system. So you may not feel this necessarily on your pocketbook, but it is going to make life easier for those who have been waiting for elective surgeries, that those who have been waiting to get a family doctor or other medical services that they simply can't access because there has not been enough resources out there, especially those who live in smaller towns, smaller areas where they don't have the same kind of access that maybe you do in a big city like Calgary, Toronto, Vancouver.
Speaking of affordability, according to RBC economists, home ownership got a bit more affordable to start the year, but there's still an affordability crisis. So what is the report saying about housing trends across the country, Rubina?
So home prices have come down across the country, and that has made home buying a little bit more affordable. But on the other end, the cost of borrowing has come up. But if you do the math for what you would have paid the same house last year, your payments may actually be pretty similar to what you're paying now. And it really depends on where you are in the country. I mean, places like Toronto and Vancouver, they're still seeing, a detached home going for more than 7 figures. It's still a crisis in those cities. But what the report is saying is that affordability is happening. It depends on where you are in the country, and that you really need to crunch the numbers rather than getting obsessed with how high interest rates have come. And also, what you should get obsessed with is doing a bit of a stress test, because interest rates could still go up. There's another Bank of Canada announcement coming up later this month, and there is a 50-50 chance, economists are saying, that the Bank of Canada could raise rates again by 25 basis points. That would bring the overnight rate to 5%. And we haven't been there in 23 years. So for a lot of Canadians, this is a new financial reality that we have to manage ourselves in and make forecasts based on the fact that interest rates could still go up. But some places are becoming more affordable across the country.
Rubina, wanted to ask about what's going on the West Coast. Experts warning that the strike at BC ports could do major damage to the Canadian economy. Who will be most impacted by this strike?
So, of course, the people who are striking will be the most impacted. They immediately are off the job and they're not going to be making those salaries. But for those who expect, we saw during the pandemic exactly what happens when ports are clogged up, when things can't get through. We may not see as many items on the shelves, especially from BC, items that come from Asia, from China, even seasonal items. A lot of things that we would expect to see on the shelf for Thanksgiving, Halloween, even going into Christmas, they're already on those ships, on their way here, so that retailers have them ready for Canadians to buy at the time when they want to purchase them. So we would see it more from a consumer perspective, that just less supply, and that can drive up prices. We're already seeing household items being one of those things that are not coming down in price. Grocery costs are still up almost 10% year over year, and many of those products and items come from Asia. And so if they're clogged at the border, a lot of those things will spoil spoil, and so we can't sell them as it is, or it will just not be available. And so the items that are available, those are going to continue to be more highly priced because there's more demand for it because there's less things on the shelves.
All right, we wanted to ask you about one more story, Rubina, before we let you go. And on Thursday, tomorrow, Meta is set to unveil what they are billing as a Twitter killer. What more can you tell us about this?
So this is going to be through Instagram. And so they're really trying to rival Twitter because a lot of people have fallen out of favor for Twitter, especially since they got rid of the verification, which you could only get if you were a person who had some sort of public presence. Now anyone can pay and get that blue check mark. In fact, the joke is now if you have a blue check mark, you probably are not who you say you are. It's the other way around. So they're trying to rival that because a lot of people, and myself included, are finding that I'm not getting the information that I used to get on Twitter, that real-time data of, an accident that's happened close to my home, or maybe some fire that I see from my window, but I can't figure out what's happening. You tweet about, you go on Twitter and it's got some good information on there, and then just real news. A lot of fake news on there right now that it's not being verified. So they're launching this on Thursday through their Instagram platform to rival Twitter. They did this with Snapchat. I mean, when they first did the live videos, and they were able to really take a big market share of that. So I would think that most people who are already on Instagram would switch to this quite easily.
All right, well, we shall see. Rubina, thank you so much for this update.
Yeah, thanks for having me.